Dracula, Wolfman, or the Mummy? Pick one. I like the old
Yeah,
monsters
or
from
like what's
Hollywood.
the real horror? The uh,
COVID
thrips and
19.
mites or whatever.
Yeah.
Well, hey, hang on.
So
On that note, welcome to episode whatever it is, 39, the horrors. Um, Operation Grow Show, the horrors. Yeah, in celebration of I guess Halloween. We'll probably get onto some horror stories from the Grow Room. Hope everybody out there is having a good one. Little slip with the razor blade. I'm sure it'll buff out, as they say.
right.
Waiting for everybody else to still join. But anyway, so yeah, GMF, how you doing, sir?
Man, can't complain. Just wondering why parents would think that we would give edibles to children. We're going to keep those for ourselves. Why would we give edibles to kids as trick or treating? Like I don't like that is not something parents have to worry about. We are going to
Yeah,
sit
no,
home and eat those
exactly.
ourselves. Nah, just get ready for the trick or treaters. That's about it. Can't complain. Hopefully the weather's nice tomorrow. Won't rain on everybody's little Halloween fun. So that's about it though, man. I can't complain. Just doing my little thing. Got some PCK by Golden Goat seeds coming up. So hopefully those will be ripe and ready to be harvested here in a few weeks. So that's about it. Nothing too exciting. Just always making seeds.
Yeah. No, nice, man, nice. Yeah. So, yeah, I can't believe it. Like, it's this is one of those. I really enjoy Halloween, but anyway, just from the whole getting getting that up. This is you notice it all of a sudden when the kids are at home. It's like, hang on, where'd everybody go who used to get into this shit? I really enjoyed. Good
So,
fun.
do you think it is something where, like, those of us who are a little bit older, we had more fun with Halloween, so it's a bigger deal to us, whereas the kids now, just it's not as big a thing to them anymore?
I don't know. I thought it was cool when they went through that whole thing of once they started off as wanting to be like oh, I want to be a kitty cat or whatever the fuck it was for Halloween into no, I want to be dead zombie schoolgirl. I want my throat cut, all this shit, and then it got fun.
And then eventually the costume graduates up to slutty something.
No.
All the adult costumes have to be slutty something.
No. Can stay dead, dead zombies as far as I'm concerned. But yeah, I mean, so in terms of like horror stories from the Grow, this year, what has been like the number one pest and problem that people the worst thing, what's been what's the doom and gloom on that one, on that front? What have people what have you heard of, or what do people think is the worst thing that they can have in the Grow Room?
I think this year, just talking to a lot of people up and down my state and in other places that have been, had their outdoor runs this year. I think because of weather, botrytis has been killing a lot of people's outdoor runs this year. Like, I don't know what it is with gray mold this year, but I don't know if it's just a wetter season for some places. But I think that's been a lot of people I've heard that's been a real issue. I've had a lot of people ask me, what can I do about
it? Yep. Yeah. I've definitely heard. I say I've seen and heard a lot more like of that. Of outdoor being mold. Is it that just more people giving it a go?
That could be. It could also be, I mean, we've all experienced changes in weather. That could just be lack of consistency in the weather. One thing that we've all kind of found out with climate change is it happens quickly and it happens in unexpected ways, and it'll cause variances. Sometimes it'll just make the highs and lows much more drastic. And that's really all it takes, I think, to upset a plant's homeostasis. So I don't know. This may be a continuing trend, unfortunately, as weather patterns get more and more wacky, let's say.
Yeah. True.
You know, that's the real
Raptor,
horror
how's it
story,
going, buddy?
climate change.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, gonna have worse week.
That's the real horror story, climate change. What's up, Magma? How's it going, buddy?
Hey,
Hey, Raptor.
what's up?
Yo.
Happy Halloween.
Yeah. They already,
There's
but hey, why
Halloween
not?
to
It's
you
the
as
best we
well.
can do. The big horror is when you're going to the grow and the cops are there. I see from Chrissy Boy. Yeah, no, that certainly is one of those like, okay. Turn around, walk away. Ah. Oh, look, squirrel. And run. Yeah. The Living Dead. How are you doing, Magna? How's life on the island?
It's been really good the last days. More clear, less smoke in the air, and less ashes.
Okay, cool. Is it calmed down?
Yeah, it seems like it has for this week, maybe. It hasn't stopped though, so we'll see if it starts back up.
Yeah, that's what's blown me away. It's just like how long it's been running for now. It's like, wow, okay. They ain't fucking around.
What do the people do that are displaced by that? I mean, they can't be near it because it's, you know, spewing gas and stuff. So even if homes aren't destroyed, what do they do with the people that live near it?
I think many have been relocated in like hotels and other places.
Okay, I gotcha.
And then I guess family and friends are another option, and like gyms and stuff like that. But the towns that are near that the lava flow doesn't seem to affect, looks like they're doing regular life.
That's awesome.
Yeah, no, you can see like the soccer stadium in the town next to it, playing games, and then you have like lava streams running like a kilometer away, and you hear the volcano going off, and it's like boom, boom.
At some point, somebody's going to capitalize on it and be doing, you know, like volcano dogs and things cooked on very long sticks.
Yeah, no, they had
In
actually
Iceland,
some dogs
lava
that
bread's
were...
already a thing. They bake bread over lava tubes.
Mm.
Yeah, no, they had like some dogs that were stuck in there, and they weren't allowed to go into the zone to rescue them. So there was like some people from the island that did it, and they put the A-Team, a big poster. A-Team was here.
Hey,
Lefty.
Cheers.
Happy Halloween, Lefty.
Let's get off.
Hey, and it's Chris cycling backwards. How's it going, dude?
What's up, bro?
How are you guys?
So it seems okay. So looking at that from the poll there, powdery mildew is the one that people get the most, which is interesting then. So what's the recommended countermeasure for powdery mildew?
Big fan.
Big fan.
Constant airflow. Don't let stuff settle.
Like, you know, those big box fans?
Yeah.
Like I used to work in a grocery store, and all the time people would come in, they would buy like those small fans that look like a wheel. And I would always tell them, this is not the fan you want. You want the big one over there in the corner. And they would look at it and look at me like, you're crazy. But to me, like if I have a big fan like that, that normally clears out most problems in any room.
Well, you know you're moving there. That's the whole point.
Yeah.
You're moving those spores out instead of letting them land, and with like a little fucking fan that might go like back and forth. And it's just like, come on. That barely keeps you cool at a desktop.
VPD management, yep, that's correct as well.
It's okay to blow on the leaves lightly, but above and below, you should have some good wind blowing. You know what I mean? Like, I don't really blow on the leaves as much, but
yeah,
above the canopy and below the canopy, it's blasting.
Yeah, and if you can have, like they do in some of those greenhouses where they have the warm air that rises. So if you've got air blowing up through the canopy, then that stops spores settling down
Yeah.
on things, and so that greatly reduces it. But just one of the things like a canopy airflow where the air is moving at 2 meters per second, that like drops your potential of getting anything by like 80%, just because the airflow so greatly reduces the chance of anything settling.
Yeah, and then you can do like in hose, those suck hoses, and you can disperse the air that comes in more evenly throughout the room.
And also filtering any air on the way in is a good idea if you're doing that. That certainly helps.
Yeah, filtering. I kind of overclock my exhaust as well. Like my exhaust is 3 times more powerful than I need it to be, just in case like I have a really hot or humid day. Just trying to move the fucking air, man. Just making sure they're not drooping or fucking like feeling the pressures put on them. Give them a little bit of airflow, just like some more air. Well, yeah, let them get that CO2, constantly refreshing everything. Looks like
I've
air
seen-
exchange is the good is
Yeah.
the goal. You're
Well,
saying,
and
Johnny?
you can.
A lot of people using like indoor fans in their greenhouses outdoors, and they're, come on guys, get a commercial fan.
Yeah, that's a
Don't
different
use a
story
plastic
altogether.
little
There, yeah.
like that's just a joke. You're gonna
Thank
get powdery
PC
mildew.
fans.
Like, what are you doing?
Yeah. And then of course that's the other thing, when it's powdery mildew outdoors, that's a different ball game altogether. I mean, now you have to use some kind of other preventative. You don't
Sometimes
have
moving
that
it
same
around
kind of
can help.
control.
Sometimes moving it around a little bit outside can help a lot. And like there
If they're
could be
not in the
something
ground.
that's keeping shade, or there could be something that's preventing the air to move in the area that they're being placed. So, and even just putting a fan outside, if it's possible, I also think helps a lot.
Yeah, and then that's also something that you can definitely find plants or lines that are potentially being bred to be powdery mildew resistant. You do get certain plants that just naturally are. And that would be a good part of any breeding project that people do, would be to, make them resistant to things like powdery mildew.
Like, so what if you got a yielder? Like if you were to get like half yielder, half like actually resistant, look, all that shit that was you're yielding is gonna go away, and then you're better off doing double resistant in the first place. Even though it might not be as popular, guess what? Everyone else is gonna be fucking mold. And then you're gonna be there. They won't have a choice if they want it. Like it's there, it's the freshest, it hasn't been locked up for months to a year. It's
Matt Gates
know
had
the
a
mar-
great, the last couple of months has had a great series. Even on Instagram, he's got a bunch of postings on just the evolution of sporulation to powdery mildew infestation. It's some really great stuff. So I would definitely say refer back to him just to show you, and how the genetic diversity or different genes, some of them are completely immune from powdery mildew, literally.
Yeah.
Like they
Well,
will not
and-
get it. Yeah.
Isn't this one of the few things we have a morphological, we already know the morphological indicator for this, right? Isn't PM resistance directly linked to that variegated leaf structure? The more jagged the leaf structure, supposedly the higher the chances of resistance to PM.
Send it. I'll give it a try.
I
Yeah,
haven't heard of that, but that sounds interesting.
that was one of the few morphological studies I think I've read. I'd have to go find the paper on it again. Look it up.
I didn't find anything resistant in my greenhouse. I found things that were a little bit less susceptible or didn't get it as bad, but everything got it. And I had a lot of different shit in there. So you got some of
So
this
is
PM
it maybe
resistant?
something where you eventually can't stop it? It eventually will, if the environment's right for it, is it gonna win?
If the environment's right for it, it's going to win. Same thing with any disease. Every disease is there. Every disease is present. Pythium's in your soil. Powdery mildew is in the air. It's there. It's just whether or not your environment is going to allow it to attack your plants. If your plants are
Um,
healthy or not, you know.
Yeah, and the thing
It's
about powdery,
there.
yeah, and the thing about powdery mildew with its life cycle is that when it's humid, is when it digs into the plants and starts to get going on them. That's when it actually takes over on the leaves, and then when it gets dry, that's when it forms spores and gets then spread across because it goes all dry and crispy when there's low humidity, and then the breeze across the room unfortunately disturbs them, and it then spreads across the room.
Yeah, the ideal environment is going up in humidity, then spiking down. So what happens? Nighttime or lights off, going up, then you fucking bring it on, goes away. If you're not making sure everything is being moved out of there or moved around, it's a breeding ground. That's what you're breeding for.
Yeah, that's why you keep that. That's why you always keep that airflow going. Always keep that airflow going.
Yeah, mine doesn't turn off. I mean, it's
Yep.
my first run didn't have any airflow. Fucking, I got exactly what we're talking about.
Yep. I've had
Yeah, I see
cases where I've had
Old
my whole
Smoke
plants
recommending Royal
except for one
Kush as a
gene. One strain wouldn't get it. Everything else got it. It was when I went away and I wasn't watching it and somebody else is watching my shit. But I came home and yeah, that I guess yeah, environment's key, but I do believe that some if you do a pheno hunt, you're gonna find stuff that's gonna be very resistant to any PM or anything like that. And yeah, there's other shit that I know something in Lefty's garden that's definitely very susceptible to PM. I've grown it. He's grown it. We love it. The ladies love it, but it does sometimes have issues.
You got to grow it
But
at a
that's
certain time of year when
yeah.
it's less pressure.
Yeah, it's
And the problem-
higher. Yeah, but
Part of the problem,
Sorry.
of course, trying to do something like, okay, I want to do a geno hunt on find the genetics that are powdery mildew resistant, is that you've got to introduce powdery mildew into the environment to figure out which ones.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like
yeah,
that's
right.
We already know it's the
that's not
PM1 gene.
what the home grower can really afford to do. I mean, this is where we need academia and that, and then to be able to go, all right, things with this lineage prove to be. And again, that's where being able to do the genetics in terms of a marker that says this is powdery mildew resistant. That would be really handy for somebody to be able to do that research and find
Yeah.
those markers, and then you can send your stuff off. And,
That's what we got GMF for.
Yeah, I just posted the article. Someone did do that. It's called the PM1 gene is how they've identified it. It was identified in cannabis sativa. So that is, yeah, that's I posted it in the YouTube chat, but then I posted it in our chat as well. So yeah, it has been identified. The PM1 gene is the name for it now, because it was the first powdery mildew gene.
Right.
I was doing a PM test on a bunch of genetics this year, and it's really hard to find stuff that don't get it. Some stuff get it like later, I found, but I found like almost everything got it, and I had maybe 100, 120 different that I was testing it on. So,
but if you knew ahead of time which one of these carried the PM1 gene, you could probably save yourself a heck of a lot of headache, right?
yeah, and if one
Hold
of
on
them
a second.
hadn't
It's gonna
gotten
going on
anything
to
at
the
all.
front door.
Trick or
Take
treat.
us with you.
come
I want to
with
see
me.
the reaction. Take us with you.
Hi,
Give
Girl
me something good
Scouts.
to eat.
That's funny.
That's hilarious.
Boy, it's a little late for trick or treaters there. 9:30.
Nah, they
Could be the
keep up
good kind
late
of trick or
in
treaters.
UK.
Really?
Maybe more trick or treat.
Hey, if your lights
maybe-
on,
At this time, they throw some dog
turn
shit
off
on your
that
house.
porch light if you don't want a ding
Right.
dong.
But yeah, man,
What's-
I saw the same thing kind of in the greenhouse where I thought I'm like, oh cool, this strain's doing really well, no PM. And then like a couple weeks before harvest, all of a sudden fucking PM creeps in. It's like, son of a bitch, been keeping up with hydrogen peroxide sprays and everything else, and it's just like, you know, the environment's right, man. There's only so much you can fucking do, and it's going to creep its way in. But yeah, there's definitely some that are more resistant than others. I mean, I definitely, you know, saw that for sure. But yeah, like I said, if you got something that you think is strong, man, send it my way. I'd love to try
You know, I'm looking.
it.
I'm looking. So
Well, and I
when
think the
when I
old
find stuff, I have like locations in the greenhouse I can put stuff, and it's gonna get PM for sure.
But yeah, I mean,
It's just-
I definitely got to do some adjusting. I'm gonna get some more fans, and
Yeah.
I definitely learned a lot by bud structure of what gets what. You know, I had strawberry candy from Bloom had a kind of a real big internodal spacing. You know, the buds weren't real close together. Good sized buds, tight. You know, big buds, not real big hairy sativa buds. No bud rot, no
Yeah.
mold. Had a little bit of PM on it. You know, then you get into like a super lemon haze. I chucked 90% of that super lemon haze. Big fat, you know, loose leafy fucking buds where it couldn't dry out. You know, and if you get the tight internodes, that shit wasn't drying out either. Just you got to get that internode spacing and shit, man. And you got to get kind of like a little bit of a tighter bud so it you know, he doesn't get all that moisture in there.
Yeah, no, I saw the same with a lot of the what's it called, the white
Hey, Widow.
one of the insects in my total brain fart on me here. The it's
Oh,
like a
what?
white fuzzy thing. It grows coccinea or something. It grows on cactus and everything. It's kind of like a white fuzzy thing, and those were like attacking mealy bugs. That's what they're called.
All right.
Yeah, and they went like for certain bud structures, you could really see that if it flowered a certain way when it started and it grew a certain way, they would like go up in there and set camp. But on some of the other ones, like it was too tight, the spacing when it was flowering, so there wasn't really a space to camp out, and those didn't seem to have a problem, and that was, I guess, interesting to see. It was always fun to learn what can't take, like the different pressures, and
Yeah,
try to
yeah.
lean a little bit towards the stuff that can work with less inputs.
Oh, for sure.
It's quite interesting to also see from that thrip seems to be more of an issue than spider mites, but I would have thought spider mites, and actually I would have thought spider mites really would have come higher in the poll. I mean, are they becoming a less of an issue? Yeah, is
Dude, I
spider
talk
mite
about-
management, or is it?
I've always had
As-
them described to me as the Borg. Like spider mites are probably one of the hardest things to deal with. So that really shocks me. Yeah, that they're not bigger concern.
Well, it's
And
a
Trips kinda stick
bigger, it's a
around,
worse
though.
problem. Yeah, exactly, Chris. It's a worse problem long run to get rid of overall. Thrips, you can get rid of it, but it's more like, I would say it's more prevalent just because soil
You'll
bags.
just manage them too. You'll never get rid of them
Uh,
all totally until you
uh,
really kind of clean out everything. But
Ganja, what do
Yeah.
you try to avoid with your soil when getting like compost? You try to not get the
Anything that's-
ones that were
anything that's been outside, it's just like
Yeah.
anything that's been outside is gonna be, you know, it's anything composted inside is good. But like that's why I like a worm bin inside, because put my compost in that. I know I'm not gonna get the bugs. I'm not gonna be a vector for shit.
Yeah.
You know,
I'm
But
with
same with
Purple.
green
russet mites or
chemicals and all
gold
your
mites.
intakes and exhausts at least. You know, so you're kind of filtering the air at least minimally. But yeah. I think the other thing for the powdery mildew, so the obsolete line, I just got his obsolete's complete Afghani, all of his Afghani work, and that was one of the ones that I found that was really resistant to PM.
Mhm.
The problem was I didn't really find any fire. You know what I mean? Like I found beautiful plants, but great structure, but I didn't find super gas. So that's the other part is if you find something with PM1, you got to also find something that's worth fucking growing. You know, I mean.
Yeah. Or does it make a
want the
good?
gas.
Would it make a good, one of those where the plant itself isn't that great, but as soon as you cross it with something and you can bring, because that's what you want to do. You then want to test
That's
all
what
of
I'm
that
hoping.
offspring and go, okay, so as soon as I, because if it is a stable one as well, then,
Yeah, so hit
hopefully
it
you
to
can-
something that's known to have problems with PM and see if it has an effect.
Yeah.
Well,
Hmm.
and I remember, like, this is just me going back to childhood, but when my grandmother would grow pumpkins and zucchini and stuff like that, PM would be a thing. And I'm pretty sure she just used the old skim milk thing. She, made a watered down skim milk and would spray that for powdery mildew. I don't know how
I think even
applicable it would be
honey-
to us.
I think even honey water works.
So what, the lactic acid,
Yeah.
that you think
No,
is
milk doesn't
what's
have lactic acid. Yeah.
Okay.
Lactose.
lactose?
I don't
Yeah,
know.
What would
organic
you-
milk.
what
I've
do you
used
think
that
what-
too. That works on PM.
Just
What do
an
you
old
think
thing my
was the
grandma
thought
taught me.
process? Like, what was,
I'm not-
or I should say thought process, but like, what do you think, if it did work, was going on there?
My guess is it probably is just creating a hostile environment by changing pH. That's probably my guess. I don't really know though what the exact mechanism is.
I think there's something in the milk that reacts to the sun that causes the PM to die
Super
off.
alkaline, isn't it? And it doesn't like the it doesn't like the alkaline environment.
Yeah, and then it's nice to wash off the milk too. Sometimes it can be a bit much.
Yeah, most things
The
for
cheese, that's where it got its name from, bro.
most things that you spray on powdery mildew are just to change the pH. Just the
Yeah.
pH switch is what kills it off.
Mm.
And that's true for most fungi or fungicides, I think, right? Most fungicides just change the localized pH and then the fungus can't really sporulate or grow
Depends on
mycelium.
what you're talking about.
Yeah.
Depends on what fungicide you're talking about. Maybe we can get
'Cause I know-
into
Like copper,
yeah,
Sulfur.
copper change? Yeah.
yeah. We can get into like golf course fungicides, and you get into like modes of action and shit. And it's different.
Yeah,
I think
I mean,
honey works too.
honey.
Honey, yeah,
I
it's
mean,
very
like,
antibacterial.
super sticky. You'll
Yeah,
see
not
somebody
yet.
just dipping them in like a jar of honey. Like, there you
Crystals,
go.
man.
Yeah. Bees, bro.
That can get
bees.
expensive. Honey's not cheap around here.
And then, yeah, I mean, like maybe just as a thought, it sort of hit me there. Is like maybe one of the reasons why spider mites, maybe in the last year, spider mites not such a big problem is because we haven't all been trading them at the local grow shop. Everybody's either been. I know all the grow stores in the UK, it's all been outdoor deliveries only. You phone up, they'll put it outside, you collect it outside. People haven't been going into the shops. And that's usually the prime place to pick up some nasty critter that you weren't expecting.
Well, it could be a thing too now with legalization too, and all the podcasts and everything out there about people quarantining and what to do about taking care of clones, and just as far as the education and people being able to get clones from different dispensaries and shit. Just it isn't quite as backdoor as it used to be. Maybe just people are doing a better job of keeping them cleaner because it's more open now, and they can go to a fucking farmer's market and trade clones.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, I mean that's also just it. People have become more educated. That's a good sign, and that's why the thing that becomes more of a problem is one that you can't really quarantine against. It's more of a roll of the dice one. As you say, it's there. It's there all the time. Like natural yeast is in the air all the time. GMF didn't bite on that one. Mentioned yeast.
Take that.
Yeah. So how's the rest
How's-
of your greenhouse doing, Lefty?
Dude, greenhouse is empty. Well,
Yep.
I got peppers and herbs
Mm.
and winter veggies, but I got all my hemp and stuff out of there. Last plant came out. I had one loner in there for about a week. It was a Panama Red Bubba Kush. It was taking a while to finish up, but it was starting to get a couple spots of bud rot here and there, so I took it down. But everything's going good, dude. About 2/3 of the way done with trimming everything. That trim bag saved my butt.
Yeah, you were mentioning that. It's that you're an advocate of it.
Yeah. But yeah, everything's going pretty good. Everything's looking really well. But yeah, greenhouse is nice, man. Veggies are coming up and peppers are still kicking butt. Getting all kinds of peppers coming out right now. But yeah, shut off the exhaust fans. Finally, going to save on a little bit of electricity. Kind of button that up. Don't think I need to use that anymore this year.
Mm-hmm. Nice, man, nice. And then how are the little the seedlings coming along?
Vigorous. They're looking really good. Tomorrow I think I'm gonna up pot them into 1 gallons tomorrow. And I think I'm at like, I don't know, 15, 16 days today. So yeah, I'll up pot them tomorrow and I'll probably let them run about, I don't know, probably 3 weeks, and then I'll up pot them again, give them a few days and put them in the flower. I'm just gonna go from 1 gallon to 2 gallons and flower in 2 gallons and do a good pheno hunt. But
You have lots of buds with insects in them and stuff that you threw away.
only a couple. I had a couple buds where I was trimming them up, and there was leaf hoppers in them. I washed all my hemp. I washed probably half of my regular personal stuff. Most of it looked pretty good, but I did a lot of washing. But I have come across probably 2-3 bugs. You know, just like flies that fly into your bud and get stuck to the trichomes. Got a few of those.
Yeah, it's a good food for starting a breeding colony with some ladybugs.
Yeah, for sure.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I'll be
I'm
glad.
doing that. I'm taking the ladybugs from the greenhouse with some insects and stuff and letting them breed out and have some fun so I can get more.
Nice. 3 little predators.
Yeah,
And
I
they're
can already
vicious little
see like
monsters.
the small larvae are starting to come. They look really cool.
Yeah. The ladybugs is nothing lady about their behavior, that's for sure. They're ferocious little beasts.
I'd have to I'd have to put some heat in there if I was gonna put ladybugs in there.
You could probably keep them in the house in a box.
That's true. So it gets a little too chilly out there in the wintertime.
Yeah.
Anybody had any grow room disasters this year?
Always.
Always. No reservoirs that suddenly decided to dump themselves in a room, or lights that felt like the ceiling was no longer the place to be and headed straight for the middle of your plants.
A couple of days ago, I got 3 gallons of water in my living room for that exact reason. I was getting water because basically I fill up 5-gallon jugs. I mix my water, fill up a 5-gallon jug and take it into my grow room to use it. And one of them slipped and hit the floor. And I put all stone floors. I put down tile floors in my house, and literally the bottom of it just exploded open. I had water all over my living room. So my fastest solution was to strip all my clothes off and throw them on the ground to start soaking up water. Running around the house naked.
But you're gonna say like dive into it.
Yeah,
just strip off and swim. Bomb drops.
My wife comes out like, what the fuck is going on? You're naked and everything's wet. I'm like, yeah, it happens.
P games.
Yeah, I woke her up. It was pretty funny.
I see you got one of those floors too. Our kitchen floor is like that. It's got this tiled floor that if you drop something, just go and get a broom and pan because it's not going to survive it. It's the floor of death. Anything
Might
that
break your
falls
metal
above
knife.
this height just gone. Yeah. Yeah, people have had things that have made it through 2 world wars and whatnot, and think. Let's see, Kush planting at home prob 2 weeks ago. Now seeing a few seeds on the plant pot. How many is a few?
And what kind of herm problem? From genetics or from light leaks or what?
What seeds?
Some seeds from what could have been cross-pollination from a homed plant,
Oh,
which is not always a bad thing. I mean, if it's late in flower, well, then again, to have seeds, it's not always the worst thing. Sometimes there's a worse one. I mean, they're going to be feminized, so it'd be worth.
And I've always
trying.
heard you don't breed with feminized seed. That's always been a no-no. Is that?
you don't breed with herm seeds.
Which are essentially
like-
feminized seeds. It's what? Yeah, that's a good one. I mean, it hermed by itself, or it hermed because you forced it to do it. What's the difference? One's got a
Right.
lighter trigger than the others. That's all. I think if it's not monoecious, is that the right word? Because this is a dioecious plant,
Monoecious.
or is it monoecious and it should be whichever way around. The other one that it's not, where you get both sexes on the same plant.
That's
dioecious.
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 Yep.
Okay. So you do get hemp strains that are dioecious. But then you would see both like flowering almost at the same time. You would see it happening. They'd be very close to each other. I would say something where, maybe it happens later on and you only get a couple of bits and pieces. That's no different to somebody spraying it with something to trigger it to do it. Yeah, if it happens later on, if it doesn't do it all at the same time. I don't know.
I'll
Chris
be honest,
says
I'm pretty old
it's
school.
feminized.
Yeah, feminized and autos are something I've never really created. I've kind of been kicking around the idea of breeding some autos. So yeah, I don't know. It's pretty new territory from those of us who've just stuck to the traditional gene stock.
But the seeds that this plant has, if that did produce pollen, that then went on to another plant or even itself, those seeds are feminized seeds because they've come from.
They don't have a
female
Y
plant.
chromosome, right?
Exactly. That's why it's no different to treating it and forcing it to do that. But this time I just did it naturally, not with artificial chemicals. You can still smoke the end product before you, that's the difference. Whereas once you've sprayed it with that shit, that's it. You can't smoke that plant. At least I don't believe you can. Well, that killed it.
Yeah. I don't know why.
Yeah.
I'm just reading Kush Cloud's follow-up comment. I don't know why it happened, but the breeder told me not to use them seeds no more. I got from Seeds Here Now. It was the Alien Struggle Bus F2. So apparently the breeder said there was an issue with the seed itself that he got from that particular person. So hey, good on
Okay.
that breeder for
Well,
being
from-
transparent.
Well, that
And
batch that
telling him not
seeds,
to
yeah,
use
no,
it.
got it.
He could have just as easily say, oh, that's fine, buy another pack. It'll be fine.
Alien struggle bus.
Yeah. Well, and I think that says a lot of good for the breeder. Like you're able to respond and actually know your product and be able to respond to someone. That's, that's customer service for you.
At least have some transparency. Bare minimum.
Yeah, I mean, I wonder how much of a problem with people getting home plants up. But then that whole thing with people go, oh, but this great particular strain or whatever, fantastic, blah, 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 blah. Oh, yeah, but really finicky. You do anything with it, it'll hurt on you. Yeah, okay. But, so what's, when is it acceptable and when is it not?
So, yeah. of those of us here, there's only a handful of us, but has everybody had a herm in their garden at some point? Because I don't think I actually ever have.
Oh yeah, definitely.
But I've also run
Yeah.
more than just like a couple
Yeah.
cuts or,
Okay.
I try to keep it rotating.
Yeah, you
Yeah.
haven't run enough genetics if you haven't had a herm.
Well,
That
I
super
had them, but they were
stable-
usually outside when we were running bag seed from brickweed. That's when we would see them, would be outdoors. I've never had one, I should say, in my indoor garden.
Yeah, I mean the cut that the mystery grower has been, well, the plant that the mystery grower has been running now for 7 years or so. That was the result of a plant homing and pollinating something else in their grow space. And that thing has gone through the ringer and has never homed again, ever. Much to their disappointment, in the hope of trying to produce something from it. It has never ever done it. That's why they've now had to pick up with crossing that with the Afghan line and then do a whole bunch of back crosses to produce it, because the original one will not, no matter how hard they've tried, but by abusing it environmentally, get it to.
And we don't know how it happened that first time, right? There's no indication.
It was a different plant altogether that,
Okay.
and it was the pollen from that landed on a Royal Queen Special Kush #1, and there were 5 seeds, I believe, that came from that. Yeah. And so it doesn't mean that it's going to produce an unstable line. I mean, it's worth having a look and see. Just understand, you're not going to get any males from it. But it's, and I mean,
know,
dead serious. It's they've never had any issues with it.
I'm seeing actually a lot of the sativas, or the really tall flowering varieties, react to almost like after the volcano started.
Really?
Like a lot of the plants are already flowered before with no herm problems at all.
But then when the volcano started,
yeah, no, I started to see like unnormal, I would say, tendencies.
that really raises the question: is, are the plants able to detect the change in atmosphere and are thus able to respond to what they can see as a threat? Increased
Change the
sulfur
lighting.
levels in the air, something.
Yeah, no, because
change the light
it's been-
spectrum.
Yeah, because it's been really high, the gas levels certain days, and in the particles in the air. It's been like a really bad air quality, and I've heard people before say when they had like propane burners in the rooms for heat or CO2, get herms. So I was just thinking if that could have like impact.
It's really interesting.
You know, I have to test all the stuff one more round now because of it. So, so that's like the 3rd round because of this anomaly.
How do you test magma? Do you just do a small sample size? Do you choose to like expand it out a little bit, see what you
Yeah, no, I
can
think I'm
get
gonna
expressed
expand it out now.
Okay.
And do maybe a larger run of it and see if I can at least find more stuff that don't express it. That I'm gonna keep and re-veg.
The science
but
is so
like,
new on all this stuff. I mean, basically, we just found out last week that condors can asexually reproduce. Like, we're so in our infancy on really scientifically studying the plant. Asexual reproduction in all animals and plants, I think, is possible. So, you know, it's, I don't know.
Yeah, I was thinking.
We're
thinking
doomed if
actually that-
asexual reproduction is possible. It means that they'll never get rid of us entirely.
I was thinking if the
Right.
plants were picking up the smoke as a stress, and that could make them herm, like a danger signal almost to produce seeds.
Yeah, because it is a
That's what I would
survival
think,
trigger. It's the
survival,
thing
yeah.
is just so desperate to. I mean, like a lot of them, if you let them run just too long, they'll start doing it.
Right.
Because it simply hasn't done what its biological time clock is trying to tell it to do, which is to reproduce. And if it
Yeah,
can
and it
get
had been
half a
flowering
chance to
for
do
like
it,
it had been flowering for since January almost, and it had like a re-veg during summer, May, June, and then it went back into flowering. So I just found it quite strange.
I think Australian Grown was saying before, does late herms count? Like late showing herms? That's the majority of my herms that I actually don't even remember. I think I've only had that express, but I consider it, yeah. But
I would
that I
say
don't
any
mind.
herm.
Yeah, exactly. Any herm.
So
If you
here's
see
the
the
thing though, a
balls in
lot of
there.
people confuse herm with just having a seed in your bud. You know what I mean? I find a
Oh
lot
yeah,
of
you
people
gotta
say,
see
oh,
that
I
flower.
hermed.
Sure.
Yeah, they're like, oh, I hermed. And what they had was a couple seeds. I mean, it could have come from anywhere. They could have, I'm sure you
Coulda
have
walked
pollen in your
in.
clothing or something, you know?
Mhm.
So yeah, so a lot of people can confuse the two.
Well, without fail, every year someone will, either someone I've given seeds to or someone will send me a message like, hey, I think I had herms, yada, yada. And, you just ask them, okay, were you growing outside or indoors? And I think right now there's just a lot of people growing outside in the summertime. There's pollen in the air.
Oh
just
yeah,
like
guarantee it.
if you're outside, expect it, I think.
Absolutely. Especially if you're in a legal state.
Yeah.
I mean, the
There's just
only
too
way to
many of us.
avoid that is a greenhouse, and then the greenhouse has to be a specialty that's like full on sealed. Like you got air blowing out, making sure there's nothing coming in. Well, that's proper IPM too. So yeah, I mean, if it's done all right, you shouldn't have any issues there. But under special conditions, like you really gotta fucking work against nature, and that's gonna cost you. You want it to work. Yeah, definitely doable.
yeah, I'm assuming. So this asexual reproduction of the condor, for instance, is that just the females that are doing it? Because if it's males, the first one did it. Go, do you know how much that hurt? And that whole species just dies. It's like fuck that crap. You do what from where now? No, mate. That's not happening. You know? Oh dear.
Exactly. It was female.
Yeah. It's the only thing that's gonna put up with the pain.
So they're born with zygotes already, like ready to go.
With the condors.
It,
Or what was
uh,
I have no
that's
idea what we're
introduced.
talking about
Okay.
anymore, do you? Yeah.
Huh. I'll have to
Well,
look
and
it up.
still,
Didn't realize
I think
that was
Steelbird
possible.
brings up a good point too. Like, let's delineate too between intersex plants and plants that herm due to some event. There are some, and I've seen it very rarely, and I suppose this is why I haven't really had it because I call them very early. If I ever see a plant that tries to express those two different things on one, you just get
So
called right to the gene pool.
are those the ones that are the dioecious ones then?
Yeah.
Because they're
If you-
carrying that trait. It's not it's not one that's doing this because it's not a herm either. It's not being a hermaphrodite.
Yeah.
All it's doing is it's going into a survival overdrive, quick, got to do something. But if it shoots both flowers at the same time, then you go, well, okay, that's a little different. That's not trying to.
And
That's
this is the same
producing both
mechanism we're
flowers
talking
at the
about
same
with
time.
self-pollinating peppers. Is that kind of the same idea as they pollinate themselves just to produce fruit?
Yeah, that's exactly what peppers do. And then you've either got to go around. Yeah, they're self-pollinators. Makes cross-breeding them quite tricky because you've got to okay, hang on. I actually have to take this flower before the pollen becomes mature, you would break all of that off, so you're left with just the stamen.
Yeah.
Then you take it from another one and you pollinate, and then cover it up so it can't get cross-pollinated from anything else just briefly while it's exposed.
Wow, so
'Cause
pepper
otherwise
breeding
it will
actually
just-
sounds a little more difficult than what we do because it's a lot more work.
Yeah, no, it's hands-on.
Yeah, I had to do that with all of them this year. It's not. Oh, I'm sure some of them have been cross-pollinated, because every time I open up the greenhouse door, you get this blast of air that'll go through and just throw pollen everywhere. But if you want to actually do it specifically, yeah, it's not like just take something and shake it, because you don't know. It isn't separated into male and female. So yeah, it is more tricky like that.
Remove the petals and then take off like the pollen so you can leave it to wait.
Honestly, I didn't realize it was that much work, like fine detail work that went into that pepper breeding. That's pretty impressive.
And then all the flowers mature at different times in different plants. Like, you want to cross this with this, and you're like, I hope that one's still producing flowers, enough when this one's going. And can I find, catch it? Because you'll look at it in the morning, in the evening, and go, oh, it looks like there's gonna be some flowers. Next day, they're all out, and you're like, oh shit, missed the opportunity. You got to try it again.
Well, this then, I guess, makes me ask the question: do any of you have a specific time during flowering you like to pollinate?
No, me personally,
No?
I try to avoid it. Well, if I was, but no, I mean, on the peppers, it's at least it's whenever.
Yeah, maybe I would start the mail like a week later.
Okay, because I usually start my males like 2 weeks later. I'll let my females get into flower, and then 2 weeks later, the male goes in with them. Then usually it's another 2 weeks it's throwing off.
Does that
Or
leave them
less.
with enough time? Because I mean, it's the time critical bit on
Mhm.
enough time for it to still produce seeds.
Yeah,
You're saying day
and
22 to 25.
yeah, and when I do a
guess.
seed run, I don't usually time it out as far as ripeness. I just literally watch the seed maturity because I'm not after the trichomes, I'm after the seeds.
And what would you see in terms of a timeline from pollinization to being able to harvest something?
Again, usually
Seeds.
it's pretty much insane along the same line
30
when I normally
days?
would take it. Yeah, it's pretty much along the same line where I would normally take it down. So seed production usually takes me anywhere from 4 to 6 weeks to get it to actually get nice, good, hard, black or darker mottled seeds. Usually it'll take anywhere in that amount of time. So, but again, if it looks like it's just going to get a few extra seeds by letting it go, I let it go. Also recently, I did a little experiment thanks to our friend Ross DeJeff. He suggested taking your plants and turning them back to a vegetative cycle of light once they've been pollinated, once they've gotten all the signals they need to go into that. He reverts back to a vegetative cycle just to provide more light. I tried that and it actually worked out very, very well. I got a very nice high percentage of really plump, ripe looking, well modeled seeds. So I don't know, that may be something I do again as a matter of course too, just to, and again, I don't know the linear relationship, but it does seem to help the maturity of the seed to get more sunlight.
Well, the plant's storing more energy up, so it has more to expend when the lights go off.
Yeah. Well, and that Calvin cycle, the Calvin cycle that it's doing to actually produce the sugars necessary, while the light doesn't actually trigger that cycle, it does contribute to the efficiency. So that increased efficiency of that Calvin cycle may be what's providing additional nutrition. I don't know.
I hit mine between like day 24 and day 30-ish,
Mm-hmm.
somewhere in there.
24 and 30. Okay.
Yeah,
And
somewhere
then
in
it's about another 40 days, 40 days after that.
Yeah, and I usually,
Another
I
month.
mean, if I got seeded plants, I mean, if the point is, to seed the plants, I let mine run long.
Yeah,
know.
you too. Okay.
Yeah, I always let mine run long. Actually, with those Arise, I let them run a little too long. I had some seeds crack in the plant; they were so ready.
Nice.
Yeah, so
Yeah, I remember Duck Reed showing some pictures of that, some plants.
Just
with
thinking about
seeds
that.
that started to germinate on the bud.
Like that too,
Literally
but, you
tap
know, if
roots coming out of the bud.
not only that, but I mean, just letting your plants run long, they'll show you some extra things too you might not see earlier on in flower.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, of course it's all down now for the at least in the northern hemisphere. Season's over. Be a southern hemisphere season now.
Mhm.
Just starting up.
Still going ahead.
Yeah, well, where you guys are, does it ever stop?
No.
No.
Just getting started. Next round.
Captain Tab asking crack as in germinate, Lefty. Is that what you mean? Yeah, that is what you mean.
Yeah, yeah, the actual seeds started cracking. You could actually see a little bit of the endosperm or whatever it is on the inside.
Nice. I just take them straight off, pop them in a little pot. Away you go. Job
Yeah,
done.
I think, yeah, they weren't all good at that point. I talked to Jeff about it, and he's like, "Yeah, they're probably not any good."
Yeah, yeah. Well, yeah, I need to keep an eye on those. In terms of like, get some updates for the next show on those seedlings, see how they're progressing.
Oh, for sure. I need to get some pictures. I've been so damn busy though. I'll get some pictures of them tomorrow when I'm working on them. But yeah, they're
Nice,
very
man.
vigorous. They took off.
That's cool. That's really good to hear. It'd be nice to see how those ones pan out and how much similarity, well, what traits you see in them that you also see in the parents, for instance, and are you seeing, or are they completely done?
Mhm.
Hang on, sorry, the brain popped off of reading comments.
Bound to happen on occasion.
Oh man. Well, that brings us sort of up to the end of the hour, actually. So yeah, I hope everybody's been had a good evening. Thank you everybody for joining in on the show again in terms of chat. Always good to have everybody here. If you want to join in on the after show, there we go. There's the link. Welcome to dive in and join us for some after show chat. See how things go. Yeah. So on that note, where can everybody find everyone? Chris, where can everybody find you, sir?
Cheers, Pete. Sorry, I'm soaking wet. Yeah, you can find me here, Operation Grow, or on the Neighborhood Grows. Thank you. Thanks for hosting this.
No, pleasure, man. Pleasure. All good, all good. Thanks to everybody else for making the effort on the Halloween side. Yeah, well, said I couldn't
Yeah,
resist.
man.
Yeah, there we go. Yeah, living dead.
Mystery of
The
this.
face like that. Yeah, exactly. Face radio. Oh, Lefty, where can everybody find you, buddy?
I got a face for newspaper. You can find me at Lefty's Farm on IG and Cannabis. Next week you can find me not here, but at the Kind Cup VA.
Yes, yes, yes.
Where is that being held at?
Concord, Virginia. Tickets are running very low. So if you're interested out there, check out at the Kind Cup VA on Instagram or thekindcupva.com. But yeah, tickets are getting short. But yes, we coming.
What is it? What would be HTTPS? The Kind Cup
VA.
VA. So it's
Yep.
the Kind Cup VA.com.
Come.
Hopefully that's the right one. We sent a whole bunch of people in the right direction, or we could have just sent them all in the wrong place. Who knows? Hey, who knows?
Yeah, but yeah, should be a fun week and looking forward to it. Got some seeds from Irie Genetics and King and Queen Genetics and myself, and yeah, come on up. Should be a good time. Wish everybody could come join and hang out and have a nice little smoke session.
Nice, man, nice. Also, don't forget to check out the Simple Seed Co. Yeah. You never know. Go and have a look there. Some bargains to be had. Some really good genetics available.
Site's always
Definitely
improving.
worth-
Yeah,
yep.
it's gone great this week. You got more stuff. It's amazing. You guys, just the pricing alone, it just makes it. Considering what I see from other people, I'm like, how the fuck? I mean, you can do. It's
Right?
so cheap. It's awesome.
Yeah, well,
Respect.
cost effective, I think is the word we'd like to look for. Cost effective.
And I think it's also part of disabusing yourself of the notion that, this is a get rich quick scheme. Back in the day when it was still prohibition land, yeah, okay, maybe some of those mentalities really, had a point. But this is not a get rich quick scheme. This is do something you care about scheme, share medicine
Yeah.
with other people scheme.
Exactly. And where can we find you, GMF, on that note?
Always hanging out with my peeps here or in the neighborhood on Mondays. Hit me on IG, Genetic Memory Farms, if I can be helpful to anyone. I'm usually pickling something, fermenting something, growing something. So, if I can be helpful to anyone, just give me a holler. I like to be helpful. And thank you, Pete,
Excellent.
as usual, for making this space for us to all bumpify our brains a little bit.
No, absolute pleasure, man. Yeah, I bumped mine earlier. And as I said, I'm sure it'll buff out.
Good luck.
Magma, where can we find you, buddy?
You can find me on Instagram and Saturdays here.
No, true. Raptor, buddy. Last one. Where can we find you, dude?
Yeah. You can find me Instagram, Raptor Grow Instagram. Find me YouTube here, same day, same time. Also, you can find me on the other channel, Neighborhood Grow Show, and that's at 4 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, 7 Eastern. So yeah. Check out Simple Seed Co. You won't get a swindle.
Yeah, and if you use this coupon code OG Show, you get 10% off. There we go. And you can catch me at PL Grow Systems or at Operation Grow 2019 on Instagram. And we'll see everybody next week. Thanks once again for joining in. It's been great. Thank everybody on the panel. Thank everybody in chat. Have a good one. Everybody go and be ghoulish tomorrow. Fuck it. Maybe you'll be handed some some spiked candy. I still want to do the one where the kitty knocks on the door and you go, want to scare your parents? Yeah, and then you pull them in and close the door. Watch the parents freak out. That'll be the one. So yeah, if you manage to do that,
Sure,
let me
it'll
know
be
how it
fine.
goes.
It'll be
Actually, the scariest thing
fine.
that could happen is that the parents fuck off and leave you with the kid. That'd be
That's your problem now.
scary. Yeah, exactly.
Now
So
you
on
got
that
to pay for
note-
the college.